This is Beyond a Reasonable Doubt with your hosts, Mark Garrigus and Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get on the show. We're going to get on about one of the best 15 minutes or so in the universe. It's Beyond a Reasonable Doubt. Mark Garrigus is wearing a jacket, but he's at home. So
I am. And what happened? I lost you. I can't see you anymore. All of a sudden, you just disappeared on me.
We'll work it out technically.
Okay. Technically. But where are you? It looks like brand spanking new or something.
Brand new, remodeled, still being remodeled, but partially remodeled studio. So we'll have that new look for you guys all waiting. You're working right now, but you're at home. So how's that work?
I've had 3 court hearings today and a Zoom mediation, and now you. And I go back to one more court hearing, and I think the mediation. So what I've been doing is very strange in this new world. The courts use Microsoft Teams. Mm-hmm. For those two, the mediation was under Zoom. You're with a Zoom. So, I flip back and forth from the various programs. It's a brand new world. Although I got to see a judge who I've tried cases in front of, I haven't seen for a while. That was nice this morning.
All right. So we got the Smollett case that you're involved with, and you can talk about it to some degree.
Right. This is what I can say. I originally represented him. The case got dismissed. Tina, who was my partner who does all the heavy lifting on this case, is pro hoc in, which means that she's admitted. Illinois' got a kind of a unique system where you get admitted for the one particular case, then you apply to their version of whatever the state bar is. So she got admitted last time when I was, and then she's got admitted this time. And there's a very able local counselor with her, Nenye, who's trying the case with her in Chicago as we speak. And boy, they're putting in yeoman's hours. I think they start at 9 and they go, yesterday, I believe they went till 7 o'clock local time.
What is he potentially looking at here in terms of exposure?
Well, that's a very good question because I'm limited in what I can say. I will say several things. This is what's generally considered a lower grade felony in Illinois. The exposure is really within the sound discretion of the judge. Interestingly, one of the questions that I was asked hypothetically is by somebody last night when I was dancing around this. They said, why would somebody go to trial when, seemingly they are better off getting a plea bargain or something to that effect? And I said, it's interesting that question would be asked 2 weeks after the Kyle Rittenhouse case. Depending on what your political leanings are, you either understood that what was sold to you in the media, certainly you would want a refund because the case did not pan out the way that that you were sold the bill of goods. So
in the Rittenhouse case.
Would you go to
right.
In the Rittenhouse case, exactly. Everybody went into that, myself included, by the way, traveling across state lines with a weapon when he wasn't 18, the evidence that was portrayed. And like I say, you can be anti-Rittenhouse all you want, but I'm talking about the evidence that was in a courtroom, not what somebody was telling you that you're supposed to believe. And I concede that I was an offender there as well. But the fact remains, you can think you know about a case. You don't know about a case. Even somebody who is skilled in the area may not know about the case. The people who know about the case are the people who are trying the case, whether that's the prosecution or the defense. So one answer to that question is, why would you go to trial? Hey, here's a real world exhibit A of somebody who it turned out everything that we thought we knew we didn't know. The other alternative, this is a more cynical alternative, is that the prosecution thinks they have such a slam dunk case, that their case is so overwhelming that they want to use that. Why would they plea bargain that? Why would they give it away? My father used to say that on the defense side, we give away basically, or sign away, plea bargain away the really good cases, and you left trying the really hard cases. And there's some truth to that as well. So I realize that that's not as in the meat of the case as you'd want, but I promise you, once there's a verdict in this case, I will tell you what's really happening here.
All right, so let me summarize. We'll use Rittenhouse.
This is my favorite part of our relationship, is when I go through an explanation and I think I've given kind of a high level legal explanation, and then you just cut through all the bullshit and give the perfect explanation. So go with it.
I'll dumb it down for the lay people. We sit around and we hear the version of the case that the news has concocted. And I use the word concocted because we're at that point now where they're just concocting things, Rittenhouse. He didn't know anyone in Kenosha. What the hell was he doing there? Well, his dad lives there and his grandma lived there, and he worked as a lifeguard in Kenosha. He drives across state lines. 18 miles. It was his total trip. I got to go to Malibu when I'm done here. That's 41 miles.
By the way, my house is about that distance from where I'm sitting. Right. I mean, my office is that distance from where I'm sitting.
Right. He drove across state lines. He had a gun. No, he didn't bring the gun. So when you hear all the official particulars as the news would like you to hear it, then you're befuddled. Why doesn't this guy plead? I mean, he should just cop a deal. I mean, the guy, it's overwhelming. What's 3 years, or what's between 3 and 7 years, or what's this, felony misdemeanor thing, or manslaughter or something? Why doesn't he take the deal? The odds are stacked against him. Well, then you think, now, what's his lawyer doing? This is a fiduciary duty. He should be taking a deal. Yeah, his lawyer knows everything. His lawyer knows his dad lived in Kenosha. His lawyer knows he worked as a lifeguard there. His lawyer knows that the gun was already in Kenosha and he didn't travel across straight lines. The lawyer knows the length of the gun. It's not a short gun. So they know all this. So they go, no, we're not going to do this. We're going to have it out in court. I don't want this kid to spend 4.5 years in prison. I want him to spend 0 years in prison. And I think we have a case that supports that. But we're befuddled because we only know the version the news gave us. And what you're saying is a lot of those elements may be in place with the Smollett trial, that there's the version we know that the news gave us, but who knows better than the actual counsel who's boots on the ground, who does know it, and they base it on that, not on what the news has told the layperson.
Yeah, I mean, people now think that Donald Trump invented the concept of fake news. I would like to point out that long before that, back when I was trying the tabloid case of the year, or the century every year, that I was complaining bitterly. I mean, you name the case, I would complain bitterly about how poorly they were reported, how poorly, there was one reporter actually two reporters that I think stand above the rest. Linda Deutsch at AP was one. She understood what a criminal trial was. You didn't have to just go through and kind of pull whatever the hair you have left out, trying to explain to her what was actually going on. There was another, Annie O'Neill, who used to be with the LA Times back when the LA Times was a real paper. And Annie O'Neill was brilliant that way. I mean, she wrote with kind of a snarky tone, but she understood it. She was smart. You don't see that anymore. You do not see these cases being covered with anything other than kind of a cheerleader status. I'll give you another example today. The other case that I know we've only got a couple of minutes left to talk is the Maxwell case, which to me is a fascinating case. It's being tried in the Southern District. You've got some just outstanding lawyers on both sides. Jim Comey's daughter is on the prosecution team. On the defense team, you've got some very able lawyers out of Denver, same law firm. I believe it's an iteration of the same law firm that represented Kobe Bryant. But in any event, you think there was no defense to this case. You would think that there's the same idea. How is, Maxwell all of a sudden, between the time that Epstein died and Maxwell was apprehended, did you notice the shift that took place? It started with this monster predator that was Epstein, right? Then Epstein dies. We can't prosecute him. So next thing you know, there's a shift, and all of a sudden it's Ghislaine Maxwell as the mastermind of all of this, and she's being tried for all this. So then what happens? You get the opening statements, which to my mind are always the fascinating part of any trial. And the opening statements, the prosecution detailed the witnesses, what they're going to say, blah, 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 and, seemed compelling. Then you got the opening statement by the defense and told us stuff that the media had not reported. The 4 victims or accusers in this case, and the reason I say victims, they're allowed to in this form, they are all connected by one fact. This is right. So they're all connected by one fact, according to the defense. That they all collected multi-millions of dollars from the Epstein fund. There's actually an Epstein fund, and none of these people, until after he died, or at least the one who was on the stand today under a pseudonym of Jane, she, for 20 years, didn't complain about anything until Epstein died. She heard there was a fund. She hired 2 PI lawyers, and next thing you know, she collected millions of dollars. Well, that's an interesting fact to me, don't you think? 20 years you didn't complain. You're now, at whatever the age, and you're still going under a pseudonym, and you're collecting millions of dollars from a fund after you get, kind of in the washing machine with your PI lawyers.
Well, I mean, this happens time and time, the sort of Matt Lauer situation. He had a buzzer on his door and people come into his office and he'd have sex with them. But they leave out the part where the gal he was having sex with was sending him texts and stalking him and showing up at his house. It changes the complexion quite a bit when you start hearing some of the stories that don't jibe with the narrative that the news is telling us. So this Maxwell case, it's interesting because it has not gotten the coverage that many other cases, high-profile cases, Rittenhouse especially recently, have gotten over the past few years. I mean, it has been kind of flying under the radar. Now, I know you have your ear to the ground, and to you, it feels like it's in the zeitgeist, but to the lay people, it's not in the zeitgeist.
I'm trying very hard to follow this, and I'm banging my head against the wall. I sent Mark a source that I found this morning, and he said it looked good, but you have to want this.
So, I put on my conspiracy theory hat and go, well, this has everything. I mean, this has the sex, and it's salacious, and it's rich, and it's privileged, and it's private jets.
Mystery death. Yeah.
Right. Why is this one not the lead on CNN every morning or every day? What's going on?
When we do our next one, I've only seen tweets about it, but I have a suspicion on your conspiracy theory. And if it was true that it was testified today by the pilot, and I'm not going to repeat it until I actually see a transcript, then I'll give you a theory I've got.
I've seen the transcript. I'll send it to you, Mark.
I think builds on your conspiracy.
Is it that there's some pretty
powerful
there are some
players?
Big names said in open court today. Big names.
Now, here's the thing. If all those names were removed and Trump's name was left on it, I think CNN would be taking a deeper dive into this.
That's one of the names they said, but they also said Bill Clinton.
Right. So I feel like there may be more names that CNN likes versus Trump, and if you're going to bring that up, then you're going to suck the Clintons in as well. So I look at everything through the prism now of politics, sadly, and I think, why is CNN not very interested in this case? Because, like I said, it has all the trappings of a big national news case, and they love their big trials. I mean, this is a ratings bonanza for these outlets. Not hearing much from them, so I'm interested. So you're going to...
Well, one of the reasons... Yeah, I'm going to read the transcripts, and I'll tell you one of the interesting things to me is, there's been kind of a movement in the last, I don't know how many years, that all things British tabloids have kind of, they kind of set the agenda, if you will, the Daily Mail and the Guardian. They kind of drive coverage into the U.S. now of these kinds of cases. This is a huge case, at least my understanding, in the UK. I mean, this is a case that is getting followed. It's a case that has real legs over there. It'll be interesting to see if it continues to, as you say, kind of lack the legs over here, and what's the reason for that.
All right. Well, when I see you next, we can take a deep dive into the Maxwell case then, and will have been coached up on all the official particulars because you read the transcripts, and we'll be.
Well, I just want to make sure because, Gary and I were having problems today because it was extremely hard to get real-time accurate reporting. There was just wild stuff that you knew when you looked at it was wrong. And Gary was suspicious of even the one that was probably the most accurate because it wasn't wasn't 100% accurate, which is, yet again, if you're going to try these supersized cases, either shut down the coverage on all the supersize or do something to open it up.
All right. I'll let you get back to knowing the people on the other side of the mahogany table.
I like to think I'm a nice guy.
You are. As long as you're on your side of the mahogany table. You'll be on the other side of the mahogany table. All right,
you.
Mark. Love
Thank you,
you. We'll
fellas.
see you in person soon.
Okay.
You can go to adamcarolla.com for all the live shows, and you can check out my new comedy special with Leno and Riggle, Truth Yeller. It's on dailywire.com/Adam to subscribe, and check out our Pluto TV channel, 687, with all the docs and going racing there. And until next time, it's Adam Carolla for Mark Garagos saying mahalo.
Thanks for listening to Beyond a Reasonable Doubt. Stay tuned for more bonus episodes coming soon.